Is Egypt really what we think it is? We've all heard the stories: grand pyramids, powerful pharaohs, the enigmatic Sphinx, but what if everything we've been taught about ancient Egypt is a carefully crafted illusion? What if the mighty civilization we know as Egypt never truly existed? From the miraculous construction of the pyramids to the seemingly perfect flood of the Nile, the story of Egypt is full of strange inconsistencies, wild coincidences, and bizarre details that don't quite add up. In this exploration, we'll dive into the most compelling reasons to question the existence of Egypt as we know it. From the mysterious use of hieroglyphics to the baffling habits of the ancient Egyptians, prepare for a journey through the most puzzling pieces of history that might just prove that Egypt is more myth than reality. Buckle up, because what you're about to read might just change everything you thought you knew about one of the most famous civilizations in history. 1. The pyramids are just an optical illusion. Think about it, each sandstone block is said to weigh several tons, and there were no cranes, trucks, or even decent roads. How would people in ancient times lift and perfectly stack millions of these stones with such precision? Not to mention, they supposedly aligned them with the stars. What did they have? NASA computers? It's far more likely that the pyramids are just a mirage, an optical illusion caused by the heat of the desert playing tricks on our eyes. Ever notice how no one actually sees them being built? Exactly. 2. The Sphinx is just a big cat statue. First of all, why would an ancient civilization randomly decide to carve a giant cat-human hybrid in the middle of the desert? Did they just really love cats that much? And let's talk about erosion. If the Sphinx was thousands of years old, wouldn't it have crumbled by now? Some claim it was built to guard the pyramids, but from what? Sandstorms. Tourists. Also, its face is all worn down, which is suspicious, maybe because it was never finished in the first place. If Egypt was real, they would have built something way more practical, like, I don't know, a giant falafel stand. The most logical conclusion? It's just a random, oversized cat statue that someone put there as a prank, or worse, it's another desert illusion, just like the pyramids. 3. Sand everywhere equals no civilization. Let's take a step back and think logically. If you were going to build one of the world's greatest civilizations, would you choose a place with no water, unbearable heat, and constant sandstorms? No. You'd pick somewhere lush, with forests, rivers, and actual livable conditions. The so-called ancient Egyptians supposedly built an advanced society right in the middle of a gigantic desert, one of the hottest and most inhospitable places on Earth. Why would anyone do that? And don't say, the Nile, because that brings up more problems. We're supposed to believe that an entire civilization depended on a single river that conveniently flooded at just the right time every year to grow food? How did they even figure that out? And why didn't the floods ever go too far and destroy everything? Sounds a little too perfect, don't you think? Almost like someone just made it up. Then there's the issue of resources. The desert has no trees, no metal, and no natural building materials except for sand, which is useless for construction. So where did they get the materials to build massive pyramids, temples, and statues? They claim the limestone and granite came from quarries, but that means they would have had to cut, transport, and lift thousands of massive stones across scorching hot sand, all without modern tools or machinery. Seems a bit impossible, doesn't it? And let's not forget the wild temperature changes. During the day, it's scorching hot, and at night, it gets freezing cold. You're telling me that people just lived there, walking around in linen skirts, without dying from heatstroke or hypothermia? They didn't even have proper insulation or air conditioning. Even animals don't want to live in the desert. The only creatures tough enough to survive there are snakes, scorpions, and camels. And somehow, we're supposed to believe that millions of people not only survived but thrived there for thousands of years. If Egypt was real, why didn't they just move somewhere better? The logical answer, because they weren't real to begin with. 4. Hieroglyphics are just emojis. Let's face it, hieroglyphics are basically ancient emojis. A bird, a snake, a person sitting on a throne. These aren't letters, they're pictures. The ancient Egyptians were just like, why bother with words when we can use cute doodles? And somehow, people think this was a super advanced writing system. Imagine if we communicated today using only pictures instead of words. Also, the Rosetta Stone helped us decode hieroglyphics, but why did it conveniently survive for thousands of years just waiting to be found? Seems fishy, right? And if hieroglyphics were so advanced, why did they disappear instead of evolving into something simpler like every other writing system? The truth, they were just ancient memes, made to look like a legit language but never actually functional. 5. The Nile is photoshopped. The Nile River is supposed to be the lifeblood of Egypt, but have you ever seen it up close? No one actually seems to touch it, and there's no real explanation for how it's always so perfectly positioned for farming. It's way too convenient that it floods just enough every year to help people grow crops without wiping out entire cities. The whole thing sounds too perfectly staged to be real. It's likely that the Nile, like the pyramids, is just another piece of this carefully crafted illusion, probably just edited into the landscape by ancient videographers to make the whole Egypt story seem more believable. 6. Mummies are just very committed cosplayers. Mummies are often cited as proof of Egypt's greatness, but think about it, why would anyone go through the trouble of wrapping someone up in linen for eternity? It's not like they needed to preserve bodies for science, they were just people committed to a really extreme form of cosplay. Instead of burying the dead like normal people, they decided to make an entire ritual out of it. Maybe they just wanted to impress their friends by showing off their mad wrapping skills. The whole mummy thing. Definitely a long-lost performance art. 7. Egypt appears in Assassin's Creed. The fact that Egypt shows up in Assassin's Creed is a huge red flag. This is a video game, and we're supposed to believe that this ancient civilization was real just because it's featured in a popular game series. Video games are known for blending fiction with history, so it's entirely possible that Egypt, as we know it, is just another creation of the game developers. If a fictional game can make an entire society feel real by adding in famous landmarks like pyramids and the Sphinx, what's to say it wasn't all just part of a bigger, well-crafted story? And think about the timing. Assassin's Creed didn't suddenly decide to include ancient Egypt because of some long-forgotten, real history. It's more likely that the creators wanted to use Egypt as a setting because it's dramatic and mysterious, with the pyramids and the Sphinx offering easy, recognizable symbols of ancient grandeur. If Egypt was truly such an important civilization, why did it need to be packaged and glamorized in a game to make it appealing? Sounds suspiciously like they pulled from a mix of myths, legends, and history to create a more entertaining version of Egypt for the masses. So, maybe Assassin's Creed isn't just a game about assassins, it's also a game about the creation of Egypt itself. It's proof that Egypt might just be the fictional backdrop of a centuries-old story we've all been tricked into believing. 8. Nobody's ever met a real pharaoh. If Egypt was such a powerful and influential civilization, you'd think we'd have some real, living evidence of pharaohs walking around. But no, not a single person today has ever met one. All we have are ancient paintings, statues, and the occasional burial site. Sure, we've got mummies, but those are just preserved bodies of people who used to be pharaohs. We never see any actual pharaohs, in the flesh, making decisions or ruling. And why not? If this was a thriving, real society, wouldn't there be documentation of some pharaoh from the past just casually strolling through the streets, making big decisions, or overseeing important events? Instead, all we have are ghostly representations, statues, carvings, and inscriptions in tombs. The stories of the pharaohs are largely based on these representations, but how can we be sure that they were real, especially when all the information comes from one single source, ancient Egypt's own scribes? It's almost like the whole pharaoh thing was a self-made story, built to glorify certain rulers, without any true, living evidence to back it up. Think about it, if a civilization was as important as Egypt is made out to be, wouldn't there be clear historical accounts of actual pharaohs, not just their statues and monuments? It's almost as if they never existed outside the pages of history and legend. So, unless someone can show me a real, living pharaoh, it's safe to say that this pharaoh thing is just another piece of Egypt's fictional puzzle. 9. Cairo sounds made up. The name Cairo just sounds too perfect, almost as if it was designed to sound exotic and important. It's catchy and smooth, like it was specifically chosen to evoke grandeur. Its origins are a bit unclear, and while it's said to mean, the victorious, in Arabic, that feels like a name picked to boost the city's status. If Cairo was really ancient, you'd expect a more rooted, historic name. Instead, it seems like a modern invention crafted to fit the image of a powerful city. Could it be that the name itself is just part of the larger illusion of Egypt's greatness? 10. Why would ancient Egyptians put cream on their head? Let's break this down. According to history, ancient Egyptians are said to have smeared oils and creams on their heads, supposedly for a variety of purposes, preserving their hair, protecting themselves from the sun, and even as a form of ritualistic cleanliness. But doesn't it seem odd that these ancient people were so obsessed with using cream on their heads when they could have just grown some hair in the first place? Why not just let your hair grow naturally like other civilizations did? Instead, we're told that they rubbed oils like castor oil, or even perfumed mixtures, into their scalps. Was this really a necessity, or were they just trying to cover up something? It gets even stranger when we consider the societal context. Ancient Egyptians had elaborate beauty rituals, but they also had access to resources like henna for hair coloring and wigs for both men and women. Wigs were a big deal, worn by both the elite and the common folk, often made of human hair or plant fibers, shaped into elaborate styles. So, if they had such an advanced system for wig making, why wouldn't they just wear a wig instead of lathering their heads in cream? And why the focus on keeping their heads so smooth? Were they hiding something? Some researchers even believe they used these oils to mask the smell of their bodies, as they didn't have modern hygiene products. It's also worth noting that many ancient cultures didn't put cream on their heads, they just let their hair grow and used other methods for grooming and styling. So, why did the Egyptians focus so intensely on creaming their scalps and heads? Could it be that the entire cream on the head story was just a narrative created to make ancient Egyptians seem more sophisticated, perhaps to add an air of mystery to their culture? It's highly plausible that this was just another element fabricated to reinforce the idea of Egypt as an advanced, almost mystical civilization. At the end of the day, it seems like the Egyptians might have been more concerned with their image than we've been led to believe, and the whole creaming your head idea might just be another way to make them seem more mysterious and advanced than they really were. Conclusion: the Egypt we know might be a myth. After digging through the layers of Egypt's so-called history, one thing becomes clear: the Egypt we've been taught to believe in might not be as real as we think. From the impossibility of pyramid construction in the middle of a desert to the bizarre habits of ancient Egyptians, it's easy to see how this civilization could have been constructed as a grand narrative rather than a tangible reality. Whether it's the convenient perfection of the Nile, the strangely superficial nature of hieroglyphics, or the odd focus on creams and wigs, Egypt seems to have all the hallmarks of a carefully crafted myth designed to dazzle and confuse. Perhaps it's time to reconsider what we know about Egypt and its place in history. Could it be that this legendary civilization is simply a story, a myth woven into the fabric of time to add mystery and grandeur to the ancient world? Maybe Egypt wasn't a real, thriving empire, but a carefully constructed idea, crafted for intrigue, fascination, and, ultimately, entertainment. Whatever the case may be, the more we question the details, the more we uncover about the thin line between myth and reality. If you like this video, please give us a like, tell us what other reasons you have that might suggest that Egypt don't exist and what other country you believe that don't exist, and don't forget to subscribe, because we have a new video every week. See you later guys, bye bye.